Hey, I'm John. I talk about the psychology of fun. And I've seen a lot of good analysis about why Marvel isn't doing too well right now with the release of Fantastic Four. It hasn't been a huge hit, and they also expected it not to be a huge hit. And there's a lot of cool theories about why that is. So this is something that I wrote a book about called Blueprint for Fun. And it's about the psychology of the meeting the psychological needs of the audience. So the spoiler alert in the book, basically the thing that makes something fun is discovery. Discovery is what we ultimately want out of everything. And when you've made like the 35th movie, Marvel superhero movie, there's not a ton of discovery for the audience. They've already seen a lot of the tropes and archetypes and kinds of stories and twists that you can do in that type of genre. It doesn't mean that the niche audience won't appreciate it. You can read comic books for 50, 60 years, but the bigger audience, they want discovery, they want something new, they want to learn something new, and unless you create some really cool innovative thing like Spider-Man No Way Home or Avengers Infinity War, it's really hard to top that. You have to do something as big or bigger in order to continue creating discovery. And, there's just not a ton of discovery to have when you've made this many movies. It's why there's no Rocky 19. It took a couple of decades for that type of movie to come back with Creed. And so they allowed some time for the audience to kind of do other stuff before they came back to that type of movie. It's why there was no, 50 seasons of I Love Lucy. It's why there's no Jaws 19. So discovery is what the audience wants, and you can only go so far with one type of movie for a majority of the audience. And especially, also what usually happens is when you've made so many of those movies, the creators tend to forget that you still need to reintroduce these characters and stories to the casual user, and they kind of just make content for the niche audience, for the hardcore audience that already knows it, in an attempt to give them more discovery, but they kind of lose making it resonate, which is the number one rule of fun, is it needs to be clear and it needs to resonate. And so a lot of times they facilitate this by only catering to a hardcore audience, and then their audience gets smaller and smaller until it's no longer viable as like a huge mainstream thing anymore. Anyway, I talk about all this on my website at harmingerfun.com. I wrote a book called Blueprint for Fun. If you like this kind of stuff, this is all I talk about, is the psychology of fun and meeting the psychological needs of the audience.